All right, with every day and essentially every downward market move, another dire prediction of a recession. Essentially, it feels more like a question of when, not if, we have a downturn. Yahoo Finance Editor-in-Chief Andy Serwer here with the answers to all of our questions regarding a future recession. It just feels like when, right? Not if.
Yeah, I think that's right. And, I was looking at some of the previous recent recessions, you guys. Of course, we had one just 2 years ago in 2020 with COVID, a 2-month recession, right? And one of the shortest on record. It was a very, very steep drop, 19.2% drop from the peak to the trough, one of the biggest declines in GDP since the Great Depression. And so just to take a step back, though, this is the most anticipated, talked about recession that I can ever remember in my 4+ decades of covering business news.
So it wasn't like this last time? We weren't almost cheerleading our way into a recession?
Well, I think what I took a look at when I looked at the past 3 recessions, I looked at 2020, 2008, and the tech crash of 2000. And, what I think is really important here, you guys, is how anticipated is the recession, and then how complicated are the causes? Those 2 factors determine how deep the recession is and how long it lasts.
And it's interesting because when you look at the last recession, when you think of these as black swan events, you have COVID, you have the war, the Russia-Ukraine invasion. How can you sort of make the economy or sort of make the markets more resilient for something that you cannot possibly anticipate?
Well, I think, Rochelle, it's impossible. And another one was 9/11. And the 2000 recession was because of the tech crash and 9/11, the 1-2 punch. The good news about those kinds of events is that they don't tend to really upend the economy for a very long period of time. So in other words, those things are unexpected and you can get a sharp drop, but it's usually a quick drop. Whereas things that are more systemic, like 2008 in particular, very complicated, trillions of dollars of bad loans and complex securities to unravel. That takes a long time. And that was the longest recession since the Great Depression.
We don't have those bad loans anymore. How structurally different is the economy from 2008? And therefore, if we have a recession, do you think this is a shorter, less painful one?
Exactly. You're getting to the end point here, which is, to me, I kind of got here through this reporting and thinking. And so if this recession, that we might have comes about, it will be very widely anticipated, which to my mind means it will not be a sharp drop. It will not be a deep recession. I would say that how complicated is it in terms of tied up to the financial system? I would say medium, because this is about inflation, of course, you guys coming out of COVID and the Ukraine war, as you mentioned, Rochelle, right? But I think that ultimately, first of all, the Fed is fighting it like crazy with the rate hikes, number one. And number 2, there's 2 big factors also fighting inflation, which is our aging population, meaning there's not demand for shopping centers and all kinds of other things, number 1, and technology, which is the greatest deflationary force in our lifetime. So all those factors, I think, are going to mean that we'll have a shallow, if we have one, it'll be a shallow recession that's of medium length, like, 6 months or something like that, which is not great. And I think it is probably fairly likely at this point. Remember, we had a contraction last quarter, and this quarter could be as well. And, that's one of the definitions of recession, 2 quarters in a row of negative GDP growth.
A Lady Gaga recession. Shallow?
Oh, God.
Oh, wow. I was almost lost on my...
Hey, you're both singers. You didn't see that coming?
A little bit of Amy Winehouse.
Hey, you can credit me for that later if you want.
Right,
if it's
You can take all the credit for that.
Actually, we'd kind of like to hear him sing, don't you think?
Not a
Dave?
chance, my friend.
No.
Andy Serwer, great to see you.
Thank you,
We're out of
guys.
time.
Well, lucky for you, Saved by the Bell there.